Welcome back to another episode of Millennial Gems. I am your host, Akila McIntosh. I am a certified QuickBooks Pro advisor, and I help business owners, small business owners, and medium business owners like you out there organize your financial transactions. So, today I wanted to talk about my 10 business principles. So, I kind of stepped into entrepreneurship, I would say about 2020. Well, at least when I decided to take it more seriously, right? I think I've mentioned this before on previous podcast episode that I kind of dabbled back into like 2017 when I kind of first started like my first kind of like fitness brand. But 2020 is when I decided to really take it serious. But anyway, I just wanted to just do an episode today on just some of like the principles that I've managed to develop over time that I feel are important, not just for me, but just for others out there who are looking to get into entrepreneurship and, get into the business world. And by no means am I an expert at this. I'm just, again, I can just speak to it because I have experience with it. I believe that, um, obviously experience is the greatest teacher. And I just want to share what I went through over these last 5 years and kind of just the things that I believe in to help develop someone as a entrepreneur business owner. So my first business principle, is developing a wealthy mindset and practice. Above all else, before I even run through the rest of the list, this is literally the foundation. You have to believe you're rich, believe you're wealthy in your mind before you can even see that money in the bank account. It's got to be up top in the brain first before you even physically see it. You have to literally believe that, yes, you are already a millionaire pending. Mindset is the key to it all. If your mind isn't right, you're not going to make it in business. You're not going to make it in entrepreneurship. You're not going to make it at any craft that you choose to just be involved in, period. You have to have the mindset. Develop your mindset. And how do you develop the mindset? You read books. You watch and listen to podcasts that evolve around business, evolve around entrepreneurship, evolve around the craft that you're looking to get into, attending events, finding mentors and stuff like that. There's plenty of things out there to help develop your mindset, but it has to be that first above all else. My second business principle that I stand on is to make sure to remove personal emotion and understand the customer's emotion. So for me, I understand that once you get into business as an entrepreneur, it's no longer about you, it's about the customer, your client. How can you serve them? So your personal feelings, I'm not saying you have to cast them like aside, but you're gonna have to turn the volume down on how you personally feel, and focus on, what it is your client wants. You want to place yourself in their shoes. Now, I don't know if some may find that challenging. If they might challenge what I'm saying, if it's right or wrong. Please let me know if it sounds right or wrong. But I just personally believe that as an entrepreneur, if you're looking to get into a service or product, you have to think about your customer. It isn't about what you want to do anymore. You're not thinking about what you want. You're thinking about what they want, how you can make them feel. How can you fulfill their problem? On my vision board, I have a little index card that I've written on there. It's been on there for roughly about, I want to say almost 4 years now, 4 years now. And I wrote the words, solve my customer's problem. That is it. Solve my customer's problem. In business, that is what you're doing. You solve your customer's problem. Simple as that. My next principle is to identify who my audience is. Know who my audience is. You know, they say that if you try to sell to everyone or talk to everyone, you're actually talking to no one. Because there are a lot of people out here, but there are specific people who go through certain things and need certain problems fixed. So you need to identify who needs that assistance. For example, I am a bookkeeper, right? So every business needs a bookkeeper. That's a fact. Small business, medium business, large business. It doesn't matter. But I niche down and I focus, well, not niche down, but like my primary focus is on small to medium business owners. No matter the industry that they may be in, I focus on that specific crowd. If you are a small business owner, I am willing to work with you. If you're a medium business owner, I'm willing to work with you. I elected to stay away from larger companies and stuff like that. But like I said, I found who I might identify who my audience is. The same thing with like creating this podcast here, right? I didn't create the name of the podcast is Millennial Gems, but I didn't create this podcast just for millennials. I created this podcast because the avatars that I've created in my head. By avatar, I mean you need to create the person with the problem that you are trying to solve. So I'm talking to another 30-year-old man and woman who have no idea where they want to go in life and just need some inspiration, or they need a business idea, or they might need help with doing some bookkeeping and understanding stuff like that. You know, some of my content and my episodes are about bookkeeping and stuff like that. Some of my episodes are just a lot of like interviews. But the point is that you need to understand who you're talking to specifically. Kind of going back to my second principle of, you have to understand understand that you're trying to solve a problem. Your customer has a problem, you need to solve that problem. Identify who you're talking to and solve their problem. Now, my fourth principle is outsourcing when it's time to. Now, I don't have the type of business where I need to outsource, because I simply am willing to I do all the work. I would be doing all the work myself. All the bookkeeping, I handle myself. The only thing I would look to outsource would just be like social media, like content. But for right now, where I don't have a lot of funds for doing all that, I can manage it myself. But as a principle, I understand that eventually, as the business grows, that you need to eventually outsource it, because you can't do everything yourself. Now, what I will say is, if you are a small or medium business owner, eventually, as your business continues to grow, you're going to need to outsource bookkeeping. You're going to need to outsource that, because your main focus should be on scaling and growing your business. And you don't want to focus on doing bookkeeping and trying to keep up with all that. Just pay somebody else to do it. You can do it at first when you don't have a whole lot of work in your business to do. But as it grows, if you're trying to scale higher, you have to outsource it at some point. You'll have to give it up. With that being said, if you do need a bookkeeper, feel free to check out the description. I will leave a link to my website, millennialgemsbk.com. You can schedule a consultation with me, and we can see if we are a good fit for each other. So check out Millennial Gems Bookkeeping. Again, I'll drop the website link in the description, in the show notes. All right. So my next principle, this is number 5, I believe. 5. Yes, number 5. So the next one is maximizing your time. Now, when it comes to, obviously a business, you want to make sure you're utilizing your time as best as you can. Because, we get easily distracted. We get that, the distractions out there, but you also need to learn how to limit your distractions because you are given 24 hours in a day. And if you have a business, you need to be putting hours into your business. Now, that goes for if you're working a job too. If you're working 8 hours, you need to come home and shower, have dinner, do some other stuff. If you have kids, take care of them and do all that. But eventually, you gotta find some time to dedicate to your business. So maximizing your time when you can, even if you have some free time on like weekends or so, just stop the going out. Maybe, stop hanging out with friends as much. Stop taking as many trips. Like you gotta maximize your time as much as you can. If you want to get ahead, use your time wisely. My next principle is knowing your value. Now, I can say I definitely struggled with this. Definitely like early on, back in like 2017. I definitely feel like when I created my Alpha Killer Athletics brand back then, I think I might have undercharged myself, but I think that's just what I felt like I was just valued at because I was still kind of brand new to fitness and personal training and stuff like that. So I probably could have charged more, but again, like I was kind of just going based off of, what I felt I was necessary. But, now if I was to get into personal training, well, now I know my number would be way, way higher than what I first charged because now I have way more experience. I can provide way more value and I understand my time and my worth. So definitely, when it comes to like business and stuff like that, like don't undercharge yourself. Um, I know I don't know too many people who really undercharge themselves, but they charge what they feel the value they can provide. So know your value and never shortcut yourself because people will pay when they understand that you understand your value. Now, my next principle is to never stop perfecting the craft. Never stop learning. Simply put, just never stop learning. You should always be getting better at your craft. Yes, you are supposed to be an expert. But even if you know, master your craft, you should still be learning, even if you master the craft. Like, even masters keep on learning because eventually the student catches up, but you don't want the student to catch up. I mean, if they say that the student should surpass the master, but the master is always going to keep learning and keep developing, keep sharpening their iron sword. So, in business, you want to just keep learning. Never stop learning. Learning should never stop, especially if you want to really establish yourself as an industry expert and you want people to pay you. You want people to do business with you. You have to keep learning, have to keep developing your skill set. All right, so my next one is practice good financial management. Now, I've never really had a major problem with staying organized or like managing money. I'm pretty good about, how I spend and where I put my money and stuff like that. But we all know at the end of the day, it don't matter how much you make. It's about how much of it do you actually keep. So definitely a key principle, and this is something that I had learned like 2 years ago when I was selling on Amazon was like you know, it's a lot. Like you have to understand where your money is going. You have to have like really know like where your money is going and how you're allocating it to what things, where you're allocating it to. See, fourth example is I made close to 10K doing Amazon FBM. Yet when I checked the bank account, it was just like there was really nothing in there. I should have had at least bare minimum at least 3,000 still sitting in my bank account, and that's after all expenses and um cogs and stuff like that, and the revenue I made. I should have had still at least like 3,000 sitting in there. I didn't have nothing. I mean, now I was like allocating my money, putting money to the side for like taxes and stuff like that, which you should all do as a business owner. I had money for to like, like profit and stuff like that. I had my money for, you know, expenses, but somehow I was still just I still didn't I didn't practice good financial management. So, on a personal side, I'm not perfect, but I'm doing pretty good about it now. And on the business side, I'm still getting better at it. So again, this is just me coming to you as somebody who's just kind of experienced this. I wouldn't tell you something that I didn't experience. I wouldn't talk to you or try to provide advice on something I didn't personally experience. So I just want to share, a key factor of a business principle. My business principle is practicing good financial management. Now, this is number 9. Just being confident when marketing and selling. Most people know that I'm an introvert, but you know, I feel like you just have to just kind of just get out of your own way sometimes, because if there's certain things you want done, certain things you're just gonna have to do. You have to be uncomfortable. And so, selling hasn't really been like, it's funny because like we sell ourselves unintentionally, but when it comes to like having like a product specifically or a service, like we struggle to do it. Like when men we go after women, it's like we're comfortable selling ourselves to that girl to tell, show her why, you know, where why you should choose us as like a man or why a husband, or like why you should be with me. It's like we constantly do that. Or like job interviews where you're marketing yourself and selling yourself to that job, because it's like you're trying to convince them of why they should hire you. So it's just a matter of taking those skill sets there that you learn in the job and that we do in the everyday world, and just apply it to business. And so again, this is just something else that I'm working on too. I am perfect at none of these. I am still developing on all of these. But again, I can share because I am going through that experience. So you just got to be confident with marketing and selling your content, because if you don't market yourself, nobody knows your business exists. Nobody knows anything exists about you. So you got to market your product, and that's every day, every single day. Market yourself and develop your sales skills. And then the last one, number 10, is just being willing to adapt, innovate, pivot. We all know the world is growing fast, especially with technology, especially with artificial intelligence, essentially here at this moment. So, you have to find ways to adapt to what's going on in the world. And what's going on in the world is, that's what it's going to force you to innovate. You got to build on top of what you already have so you can keep up, so you don't get phased out, so you don't get left behind. And when you innovate, sometimes that may mean that you may need to pivot. And by pivot, I don't mean like change industries. I just mean like take a different road in the same industry you're already in. Just kind of just pivot your foot to go somewhere else or add something else. Like, for example, me being a bookkeeper, right? Right now, I don't offer taxes or payroll, right? CFO services. But say let's just say like you know, let's just say that I'm let's just say I finally decide to become a CPA, right? And now that's me innovating on my skill set because now I'm adding tax services. And it's also a pivot because now not only doing bookkeeping, but now I can also pivot and head down this direction too. So now it's not just the road of just bookkeeping. Now I can pivot down this road and I can do bookkeeping and taxes. You kind of see what I'm saying? So you just have to be willing to adapt. You can probably just understand, like, yeah, there's just bookkeepers out there. And then you see that most bookkeepers are starting to transition into doing payroll and taxes. Well, okay, well, how do you innovate? Well, now you have to add payroll and taxes to your bookkeeping for if you want to stay up to date. And then pivoting, just like I said, just pivoting just means like, all right, well, now instead of just this road of bookkeeping, now it's bookkeeping, taxes, and payroll. So those are my 10 business principles that I've kind of come to learn over the 5 years, kind of 5 years that I've kind of been in entrepreneurship. If you guys have any questions, or if you are someone who needs a bookkeeper, whether you're a small business owner or a medium business owner, again, I will leave in the show notes a link to my website, Millennial Gems, MILLENNIAL Gems, GEMZBK.com. Again, it'll be down in the show notes. And if you're a small business owner or medium business owner who needs bookkeeping, feel free to holler at me, and schedule a consultation, and we can get the ball rolling on that. So I'll see y'all on the next episode. Peace.